So in the end, I decided not to bother with City for the third and final day. I just wasn't that into it, and I mean, there was a couple of panels that looked like it might be interesting, but I just thought, as the time was approaching, I was like, you know what, just can't be bothered. So yeah, I didn't bother go. I just watched a movie called The Vanishing on Seventh Street. It's a movie I rented through Love Film, and I'm not sponsored by Love Film, by the way, but I rented a movie, and what's it called? It's got Hayden Christensen, Tandy Newton, and John Leguizamo in it, and it's a weird film because it's like everything about it, not everything, but most things about it point to like it should be a good movie, right? Like it should be a good, well-crafted film. You know, the acting for the most part is okay. Every now and then, it did feel a bit, overdone. The story was quite interesting about these mysterious vanishes that just happen all of a sudden, and they have to stay in the light because these creatures are all I don't know, some kind of night creatures or something. They don't actually find out what was taking the people. Spoiler. It's not a good movie anyway, don't worry about it. But that's the thing. It's like, the whole time watching this film, I'm like, okay, there's an interesting story. It's told in a fairly okay way. I mean, you can see there's certainly flaws in it, but nothing like that other movies haven't done, or nothing that other movies haven't done even worse. But the whole time it just felt like such a boring movie. And I think it's down to the way it was told, perhaps. Perhaps the way it was told, perhaps the way it was directed, or a combination of things. But it's just weird. Like, you have this film that really should be a good movie, and it just isn't. It was boring. It was uninteresting in the end. By the time you get to the end of the film, I was like, I just don't really care what happened. Or the jump scare parts were not really that you can tell that what they were doing. But it's like it should have been a good film anyway. So let me. That's my question for today. Then, what films have you watched, or books, or whatever that you've come across where you feel like this should be a good movie, but it just isn't. Let me know about that.
So I'm talking to a friend of mine, and he's telling me rather, that he wants to move out of his parents' place, and he's asking me what I thought about that. And I gave him some advice, and then afterwards I thought, maybe I should make a video on this, because I'm kind of an arrogant person, and I think that my advice is just so much better than everyone else's, because that's just me, arrogant and everything. Anyway, I'm actually holding the camera a bit higher. I've noticed like other vloggers do this, they hold the camera a bit higher, and I guess it makes sense because the sunlight is up. If I hold it down there, it looks like I've got dark eyes. So anyway, that's that. So I gave him some advice, and here's the thing. Now, some of you guys out there are in your teens, and you might be thinking that you want to move out someday, and some of you guys are maybe in your 20s, and you might be feeling the societal pressure to be moving out, and some of you guys are maybe in your 30s or 40s or older, live with your parents, and all your friends are like, oh, you're a deadbeat, you live with your mom. Well, here's my views on that. Now, depending on your situation, would determine whether it's best for you to move out of your parents or not. But I would say this, no matter what your situation is, never let societal pressures or peer pressure or any kind of pressure like that sway your decision, because you've got to do what's right for you, not what other people think you should be doing, number one. But let's say you do move out. Now, especially in particular if you're paying rent specifically, here's what you've got to consider. I think this is the biggest thing you've got to consider, or one of the biggest things certainly anyway, is that when you move out, you're paying rent, you're giving money to the landlord, and that landlord then uses that money to, benefit his family, whatever he's doing, basically just get rich off you. And that's what the landlord does. You give him money, and he gets rich off you. Now, the one thing to think about is that you could, rather than giving that to your landlord, you can give that to your parents. So you can stay at home, give that money to your parents, and it benefits them, especially if your parents are older, maybe they're retiring or retired already. And let's be real, pension money is crap, so they could probably use it. And I think a lot of times we're so quick to give money to things outside of ourselves, outside of our families and our communities and things that actually benefit us, that we don't always look at, okay, well, actually, if we keep the money in the family, that's actually better in the long run. So that's something to consider as well, I think, that rather than giving the money to some stranger who's going to get rich off you and probably use that money to benefit his family, why not just give that money to your family, to give that money to your parents? I'm not saying you've got to pay a rent to them specifically, but certainly help out with bills and food and, just getting things done. You know what I mean? That's keep the money in the family. Now, if it's a case where, I don't know, maybe you're getting married yourself, then yeah, you might want to consider moving out. It might be a bit awkward if you are married and living at home with your parents because, I don't know, your mum's got to be telling you to take out the garbage while you're trying to have sexy time with your wife. It might be a bit awkward. just might be a little bit awkward. So cases like that, you probably do want to move out, or if you've got kids. But then again, that being said, if it's not a problem for you, then whatever. Maybe that's your situation, and if that is, then cool. So there's that. Another thing to consider, especially I think for some of the younger ones, because especially when you're in teens and you're at that age where it's like, I hate my parents, man, they suck, I hate them, I hate them, I hate them. And you might, and that might become like your a driving factor of whether you decide to move out or not, of that feeling. But what you've got to be clear on is whether that is a genuine feeling of you do not get along with your parents, or whether it's just a normal, because let's be real, family is always going to piss you off more than anything. Nobody is going to piss you off more than your family, especially when it comes to your parents. So you've got to be clear as to whether it's just something that you can get over, something that you could deal with, and something that you could work to overcome, or whether there is actually a genuine animosity there. Because if there is a genuine animosity, then yeah, it's probably best to not be around that. And though not necessarily always ideal, but if you can, as soon as possible, because really you've got to think of your own well-being. And if it is a case where you just cannot get along with them, you've tried your best, and you've got to be honest with yourself. You've got to be honest with yourself that you're not just moving out because it seems like a cool thing to do, but there is actually a genuine issue, and that you're moving out to better yourself so that you could not be around that kind of environment. So that's another thing to think about as well. What else? But yeah, I think apart from that, I probably missed something actually, but I think apart from that, as long as you're not doing it so that you as long as you're not feeling the pressure, you're not doing it because you feel like some kind of, oh yeah, I'm this age, I'm that age, I'm whatever age, and I need to move out because this is what's expected of me, and then you do it, and it turns out to be the worst decision you've made because rent is expensive. I mean, different parts of the world can be different, of course. If you're in London, rent is expensive. Trust me on that one. Ain't no joke. Ain't no joke. Boy, ain't no joke. Now, if you're earning the big bucks, then stuff like that probably don't matter too much to you. But for the regular people out there, ain't no joke, man. Trust me. My camera's moving. Ain't no joke. Ain't no joke. But it's difficult paying rent and trying to save money. So anything you can do that makes that easier for you, especially when you think that you one day might want to own a house, and it's difficult to save money to own a house if you're paying rent, or even things like when your parents pass on and they will you their house. If you can't even afford the inheritance tax, that's kind of a problem as well. So these are all things to consider. You don't want to be making decisions just because yeah, somebody such and so is going to laugh at me or whatever. You know what I mean? That's the, as long as you're not making it based on that, and that's really the key thing I'm trying to get at. It doesn't matter how old you are. I don't care if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever. You live at home with your parents. You do what's best for you. Do what's best for you, and as long as your parents are okay with that, and there's no issues there, and animosities and whatever, everyone's getting along, everyone's doing their thing, everyone's contributing, then there ain't no problem, there ain't no shame in that. No, ain't no shame in that at all. And it is a shame that society's kind of deemed it that way, but society does a lot of things that we need to not necessarily incorporate into our lives, because it just makes us miserable when you're trying to live up to somebody else's idea of what you should be rather than what's best for you. Always do what's best for you, and but just be honest with yourself. So yeah, I think I'm just repeating myself now. So yeah, but that's the key things I'm trying to get at. Just be sure that you're not doing it for some kind of societal pressure. Be sure you're just making the best decisions for you, and yeah, do what's right for you. All right, peace out. I think I may not like that same thing. You know, it's how it is. We don't always like the same things, but why hate on another man's hustle? You know, he's doing what he's doing. Keemstar's doing what he's doing. All those guys, you know,